So today I'm really mad about something that affects a lot of different people, and it may not affect you necessarily, but I'd like you to bear with me and see what I'm talking about. And that's the fact that Google is basically doxing people now. They're basically giving out people's entire name. And one thing that bothers me about this is I feel like if it starts here, now I'm not just trying to make a slippery slope argument, but we know what Google is, right? We know how YouTube does things. Things start small and they just always snowball. Hey, don't swear that much. Hey, don't swear more than 3 times in a video. Hey, now don't swear in the first 15 seconds. You know what I mean? Like, things always escalate. And that's what's kind of happening, I believe, with Google. Google's been having a ton of problems with their ads verification system. They've been having a ton of problems with spam accounts. So basically, in the past, Google was happy to take anybody's money, and they can say, no, we weren't, but they did. They did do it, so to me, that tells me they were, and display the ads as long as it wasn't pornographic or leading to some kind of snuff film or something ridiculous. You can still see a lot of mobile games that get away with putting things in their ads that you wouldn't actually see in a thumbnail, or if you did see it in a thumbnail, it would be partially demonetized. So even now, Google is not very strict on their advertiser guidelines, and it really depends on what it is and who it is, and also how much money they're willing to throw at them. You know, some average person willing to throw $50 at Google, I believe, would be less likely to get something slightly salacious through than somebody willing to throw $10,000 at Google, because you get to set that at the beginning of your campaign before it gets verified. Now, why does this all matter? This has to do with Google advertising, right? Yes, and a lot of channels and different businesses use Google advertising to actually advertise their products. This is where the basically ad mid-rolls or pre-rolls or the banner ads or anything that you see on videos come from. Now, in the past, you could run ads without it just telling everybody who you are. But now when you do so, it's going to be telling people your advertiser information in order to be more transparent. Now, Google did release an entire thing about this, and there's a whole piece you can read about it. But the TLDR of it is basically this. From now on, your ads will include disclosures showing your verified name and location like this. Now, they don't say what these things are, but once you actually go into the ad disclosures and learn more about them, there's an entire piece that's paragraphs long that gives you the runaround on what information they will actually show. But when you go in your Google Ads account and you say, what are you going to show? And you see about this advertiser, it shows your entire legal name. So by the way, this is my entire legal name. I've blocked it out just because with some of the stuff I talk about, even though I'm not a very political person at all on here, I've still gotten death threats, doxing threats, harassment, people pretending to be legitimate businesses to try and scam me. I've gotten the works, okay? And I'm just some average dude. I can't imagine how much worse it would be depending on if I was somebody else. I know there's like swatting has become a huge problem now, and a lot of people, they don't have weapons in their house to defend them from home intrusion or things like that. So if somebody does figure out who you are and they're either the world's biggest pussy and they send the police after you, one, you'd just die anyway if you tried to defend yourself, or two, if they showed up at your house, you wouldn't be able to do anything about it. So the thing is now, if someone wants to advertise their own channel, for example, me, I make videos on all kinds of different things, okay? I make videos on Assassin's Creed, Batman, DC Comics, Spider-Man, Star Wars, you know, the works, right? That's one of the reasons my viewership is so sporadic, because in the always niche, always market towards one person, always make only one type of content world we now live in that Google actually promotes while they ignore everyone else, you can't do that. You can't be a variety channel and succeed unless you're one of the big guys who's been around for like 5-10 years, you know, and really established yourself. So people like me, when they produce a topic that maybe they care about, but they know not as many people will see, a good example for that is James Bond. For me, we will go in and say, you know what? I'm willing to eat the cost on $20-$30. I'm willing to pay so that people will just see my video, see that it exists. They can choose if they click on it or not. I don't like those pre-roll things for me because I find that people just skip all of them anyway. So for me, what I do is I'll be like, hey, look, I'm willing to spend $15 today and $15 tomorrow. That's, you know, $30. I know it's not much, but it's something. I will get a few thousand people to see my video, see that it exists, because it'll pop up in recommended. This is a real thing that happens. It says it's an advertisement, but it pops up in recommended. And then people can choose if they want to click that or not, right? That's the kind of thing that I do to get people to see lesser known niche topics. And I'm not afraid to admit that. I mean, all kinds of massive YouTubers do the same thing. Tiny YouTubers do the same thing, and full-on companies do the same thing with their mobile games or video games or whatever. I mean, every single channel and pre-roll under the sun for like 2 months there was showing Hogwarts Legacy. That's an example of a company paying to advertise on YouTube. That's also how YouTubers get paid. Other than you guys giving like really generous things like super chats or giving very generous things like memberships, that is how YouTubers get paid. Now, the full information that's going to be shown, though, is your entire legal name, which is insanity to me, because when you actually click about this advertiser for anyone, it will say your entire legal name and it will say the country you are in. It will not say things like your exact state or city. However, it's worth noting some countries are much smaller than others, so there's people that this will very much disproportionately affect, and I want to run through some examples for this. Now, for me, like I said, there is the possibility talking about this, one, that this shines more light on it negatively, so like if I ever advertise something, someone could very easily figure out who I am, right? But I'm willing to bite the bullet on that. But two, there's the problem of it affecting people disproportionately. So for me, you find out my name and you see I live in the United States, right? Okay, well, here's the thing with that. That doesn't actually give you my exact location. There's 1 billion people with my name, and it's a massive country. Let's say that I live in the Middle East, and I'm somebody who speaks out a little bit against the grain. Maybe I speak out against the government. In some of these countries, the government is very, very controlling and actually extremely violent. So let's say I'm a gay man in the Middle East, in some country, regardless of what it is, and I talk about gay rights. Well, if the country I'm in happens to be a little bit anti-gay and a little small, it is now much easier to figure out who I am. We've seen this happen before in the past where someone with an online persona or online identity who's LGBTQ in an area like the Middle East got outed and killed. This is something that's happened a lot. So by Google doing this, you're also ripping the Band-Aid off of that and pretty much just exposing people's identity who maybe necessarily shouldn't be exposed due to the fact that their identity is sensitive information tied directly to their immediate safety as a human being. The second thing that's crazy about this is the fact that you cannot opt out of it, right? You have to do about your business and you have to verify your identity with your complete legal name. You do not get to choose. You do not get to say, well, actually, my name is Jay Pizza Pants. You don't get to choose that. You have to say the entire legal name on your documentation. And the documentations that you can pick through as an individual to do this are things such as your driver's license, passport, state ID, or green card. That is it. Those are the only options I had as an advertiser in order to do this. Now, if you have a registered business, you can do a registered business, but guess what? A lot of that information is public, so the same problems apply that somebody could just figure out very easily who owns that business. Oh, it's Tom Billingsley. All right, well, let's send the SWAT team to Tom's house. Or, oh, Tom's a little too gay for this area. Time to go take him out. You know, those are kind of real problems that come from outing people's identity, which is why some form of identity protection on the internet matters. This is also incredibly insensitive as well, even to people who aren't in immediate danger from this. Now, we've already gone through examples like me, right? We've gone through examples like a gay man in the Middle East. I know it's an out there example, but it is a real thing that has happened. Let's look at someone like who's trans. The reason I bring this up is because Google pretends they're so progressive, but at the end of the day, they're not, because you would just have to just straight up out your old name to everybody. The only way to actually get this is to use the name on your identification, and identification change and name change are actually very difficult. I found that out when I got married, and when my wife and I, got married. Basically, going to actually change your legal name, even through marriage, and having to change your identifications and stuff, that is a process. That's not easy. That's why people don't just change their name all the time, and why a lot of the name changes you see are from guys like Ron Artest, like Meta World Peace and guys like this, who just have tons of money, right? It's because they have the money, time, and lawyers to just very easily do this. Normal people, it's like going and sitting at the DMV and at all these government buildings forever and having to deal with it and wait, right? So if you were somebody who used to be, You know, if you, on your birth certificate, you were born Jay and now you're Janice, everyone's just going to know, oh, this person's name legally is Jay, and this is their last name. Now I can very easily find them, which I've also noticed there's a lot of anger around people like that on the internet. There's a lot of people looking for their location and to figure out who they are. That's just an attitude that's kind of always been there, but I've noticed there's a lot more of that attitude online now. So even if you want to say that doesn't affect people's immediate safety, which I think it affects everyone, from the straightest white guy out there to like the most gay black man in the entire universe, okay? I think this directly affects everyone's safety. But if you want to say, well, some people are in less danger than others, fine, but there's still a spectrum of danger there for everybody by just giving out their name. And I've seen plenty of examples of YouTubers, whether you like them or not, who have been swatted, who have been attacked in real life, and a lot of them are bigger YouTubers. I know people like H3H3, regardless of what you think about him. I know people like The Quartering. You know, they have been just straight up swatted. I know people like, there was a whole story on Tim Pool, who's like a more political commentator, swatted, I believe 2 or 3 times in the last couple of years because people just know his name, right? And these are people that are usually very out there with their name. Like people like H3, his full name is just his thing. Like he's very transparent with his name. And so are a lot of these other guys. And what happens when people are transparent with their name? They get swatted, they get doxxed, they get death threats, they get people coming after them, like literally in public. This is the kind of stuff that Google is now promoting. Google, I can't speak, is now promoting by just sharing this information. This is not something that just makes ads safer. This is something that makes anyone who runs ads in more danger, regardless of who they are, what their background is, etc. And the reason I wanted to use some of the more, I should say, diverse examples in my example is because Google is always pretending they care about these people. They're always saying things like, oh, well, you know, we want to do our diversity and inclusion month. We want to promote black creators this month. This month, we're going to promote gay creators. This month, we're going to do, and it's like, but you're just outing these people. You're just telling people who they are. You're telling them the country they live in. And if that country's too small, that's going to put them in even more danger. Because yeah, it's going to be hard to find me in the United States compared to other people, right? It's going to be a lot easier to find somebody in a tiny Middle Eastern country. That's not going to be too hard. So I don't know. This whole thing has really disappointed me. It's really gross and kind of disgusting. And I think it'll just lead to other ways of getting around ad verification, of like using false identities and things like that to avoid this. Or it will lead to individuals who are smaller and have smaller accounts not using it at all. Then again, you know, I don't think they care at all because they make so much money off huge corporations that I highly doubt they care if you or me use this. But I still think it's a really disgusting step to see from Google. And it just is really bizarre and dystopian. I absolutely hate this. It makes me really pissed off. I don't see what the point of this is. I don't see what issue this is going to solve. It just creates so many more for the individuals behind the content creation and solves none of those issues for the people actually fronting the ads, like actually showing the ads. So now, if you're a creator, you not only have to pay money to get your content seen, but you also have to dox yourself through Google and just hope that nobody's mean enough to do anything with it. What an absolutely brain-dead way to run this business. It makes no sense. And I don't even know what to say. I'm just at a loss for words, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I have more videos coming soon. I have an Assassin's Creed video coming up very soon, a top 5 with Gotham Knights and Batman Arkham coming up soon, and more. So I look forward to seeing you in those. Have a fantastic day. As always, everyone, stay shway.